Good afternoon and good evening to SpeedGaming. Welcome to the inaugural broadcast of the Link to the Past Randomizer tournament. This is a cash tournament. Top prize is just shy of, I think, $1,000. And we have 80 racers vying for that top spot. These 80 people had to go through some pretty tough qualifiers in order to earn their spot here, in addition to some international talent. And they have been split into 16 groups, and the top two in each group will advance. We see actually Group H here, actually arguably one of the most difficult groups to get out of, featuring two really top and talented runners. We have McMonkey on the left, racing off against Zelga on the right. My name is Claire Mouse. I'm joined today by Karaoke. How are you doing today?
I am doing great. It's like summer weather outside. I got the windows open and everything.
Oh, perfect. Just in time to stay inside and watch Rando, right?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Alright, so just to give a little bit of background here about the mode of the tournament, for those who haven't really seen too much of Randomizer, so this is based on a Link to the Past vanilla game, except all of the items have been randomized, but you can still be able to beat the game. And of course, specifically for SGL, one of the best goodies we can see actually on our tracker for both runners is that they have those coveted boots. Means that from time 0, they will be able to dash to their heart's content. More boots means more fun, for sure.
I gotta love wearing some shoes.
Oh yeah. Alright, looks like we are off. Both the runners looks like can start out at Link's house, picking up a nice bottle with Red Potion. That will be a really nice check when they go back to Kakariko and visit the sick kid. But of course, we're not going to quite do that. Oh, routing diverges already. We see McMonkey taking actually a more commonly route here, going to visit Sahashula's closet. There are 3 quick items here as a check. Meanwhile, it looks like Zelga just want to take a quick peek down south to Lake Hylia before kind of going to the same way.
And with those boots, you can just ram your face into the broken wall in Shashrala's hut. Don't need the bombs or anything there.
Yeah, and you can actually tell which bombable walls you can actually ram yourself through is if you see that little crack and you see the circle right around it. Otherwise, if it doesn't have the circle, you actually can't walk into it.
Yeah, so in this case, I guess the circle marks the spot?
Yeah, circle and X, that's right. It's a nice target. Alright, so it looks like actually we picked up some money, which is really great for resources, and we also picked up 3 nice bombs. We always want some early resources, especially for Kakariko, because there are exactly 3 bombable walls that you actually want to go through. So having some early bombs and early money really just means that their trip to Kakariko will be much more efficient.
I'm picking up a few more bombs along the way here under the hole of the Bonk Rocks. And now swinging up north to check out the woodcutters and Lost Woods area, and also what's on the tree pole. Just some hearts.
Yes. Yeah, and you see actually, this is actually a really efficient way for runners to try and get some more resources. We actually see there were 2 different tree poles, just kind of based on the different number of enemies that you've killed and the damage you've taken. Alright, looks like we got a sneak peek there at Lumberjack. It looks like just 20 rupees. That is not going to be worth our runner's time to go back and kill the first wizard. Unless they were just really, really strapped for cash. Alright, McMonkey kind of walking his path along there to make sure he doesn't actually get hit by the bird. Seeing 10 arrows and the mushroom spot, that is also not worth his time. Gonna see what the Lost Woods drop down has for us.
Just a piece of heart. Nothing super important just yet, so we're gonna keep on going towards the treasure trove known as Kakariko Village.
Yeah, certainly early on, you're never gonna turn down anything that's specifically along the way, but I'm sure our runners would be more than happy to see a heart container, which is a full heart, versus the heart piece, which we need 3 more of in order to make a full heart. It's certainly very similar routing early game. Just as the goal here is that we just want to see we can get as much progression and direction as we can. Alright, speaking of which, we have an auspicious cape. That could actually lead to potentially a trip to our favorite wizard early on, but that's also a really nice safety item for invisibility. Oh man, what a find here in the back of Blind's hut. We have our first sword. These guys would be really happy with that sword because once you have a sword and boots, you can dash to your heart's content and you don't have to stop for anything because the sword will just knock everything out of your way.
And there's our first map check. We had a 5/6 crystal over in desert, and the other 2 dungeons in the light world being pendants today, with our green pendant being up at Tower of Hera.
We have some sinkage for getting those flippers out of the back of the well. Coupled with the fact that they picked up a bunch of money, they are in a great position in order to visit our favorite fish friend in the light world. Alright, just some very expensive bombs here from the bottle vendor, or I guess I should say the bomb vendor today. But always really nice to be able to have rupees for that, because if you're super strapped for cash and you have to skip it, never feels good moment. Speaking of feels good though, we have our second sword already in the chicken hut.
Alright, so there's not going to be any hunt for the sword later on. That's not going to be our, so-called go mode item.
Yeah. Is this like a village or is this like an armory? Just keep picking up swords left and right. See some speculation for where our potentially next direction for our runners to go is potentially our wizard friend. We are actually quite close to visit our favorite friend Aghanim 1 up in Castle Tower. We're going to need 1 sword, and then either the cape or a second sword, which they have, and most importantly, we'll need that lamp. These runners are more than capable of doing Aga Tower in the dark, means that all of the dark, the rooms with all of the dark rooms basically can't see anything, but without that lamp, it's not worth their time until they know they absolutely have to. Alright, checking race game. Looks like there is nothing of note. Our runners are basically just following each other's footsteps here. They're going to check the dam for 2 more items and potentially make their way to South Shore and Mini Moldorm Cave. Having a Master Sword here really helps because you just have really good damage output.
Oh, we got lift power.
That's right, yeah. So fast. So nice. Everyone's really happy to see that first glove. Glove also, in addition to opening up, some nice under the rocks, they can actually check the back of Escape now for another 3 quick checks. See what our runners decide to do kind of after this South Shore loop. Oh, of course, Zelga's gonna prove me wrong here. He is going to take the dam, and he's going to go actually to visit our another good friend, Akina. And of course, McMonkey is just following suit. Don't let me predict what these runners are going to actually do.
Yeah, with having the boots at the start, it's a little bit faster to go over here than, say, for a seed setting or such where you don't start with the boots. This Agina's Cave is a little bit far out to check just as a one-off, if you're not heading over there for other reasons, such as going into desert or you've run out of locations.
Yeah, and as you said, Agina actually is a very isolated location very frequently. So you actually see more and more commonly, so people don't isolate that, is they try to combine it with something else, such as the dam. Alright, meanwhile, McMonkey is farming up a rupee storm here. He is very much interested in getting up to 500 rupees. Looks like he's going to try and take his chances in the last 14, kind of before heading over to the South Shore. Meanwhile, Zelga took that glove, going to the back of Escape for those 3 quick checks. Did not actually see any items of progression, but he did pick up a small key and some money. So hopefully he is going to be able to find an item here, and then that means it'll only be 2 items like this left in the back of Escape. And as you can see, there is nothing actually wrong with Zelda screen on the right, it is in fact intended to be dark. Without that lamp, there is no light cone to help him light these dark rooms. However, Zelda's got more than one trick up his sleeve, being an attorney and all. So he certainly is more than capable of maneuvering his way through.
Yeah, you could say he's seeing through the opposition right now. McMonkey also heading towards the back of Escape with that restart into the sanctuary area. Gonna be picking up those 3 minor items in the side cave here.
Yeah, unfortunately, Zelda is kind of too fast for me sometimes. I did not actually see what he ended up picking up in Dark Cross, but do keep in mind that the dark rooms, in order to traverse them and get items out of them, are never in logic. You are never forced to do dark rooms. Zelda is just that talented of a runner.
Yeah, I saw him pick up a map, so...
Sounds good. That is the worst possible item that we actually wanted to see, because if we actually had done the bottom of Hyrule Castle first, we would have actually known that there was going to be a map there. But, that's Rando for you. Speaking of Rando, we ended up picking up our next Dark World progression, which is our hammer. Always really nice to see. One step closer to Dark World means one step closer to not having to do Aghanim. Oh man, we actually see quite actually difference here between sword beams and not having sword beams. McMonkey can just spam those puppies to his heart content, and down go the Moldorms, versus Zelga had to kind of maneuver his way around to slash them to death.
And the other commonly known sort of out-of-the-way cave in the Ice Rod Cave, just holding a piece of heart today, but it's another one of those kind of orphan-y locations due to being so far off where you don't have the boots or you don't have the flute. You kind of maybe save it for later to possibly save some time. Say, your opponent goes there and there's a useless item there, you don't go there, you don't waste the time walking there, and, you end up saving a bit of time later on, possibly, when you're both going through Gauntlet in the tower or something like that. But today, easy to get there. And looks like we're going swimming now.
Yeah, that's right. So, with those flippers, with the extra money that both players end up farming, looks like this is going to be a pretty strong indicator that they're going to go pay King Zora a visit. He charges you 500 rupees for a potentially good or bad item. We just have to find out what that's going to be. Alright, you can see a little bit of divergence so far. Maybe McMonkey will actually end up doing the same thing. Yeah, looks like he's going to kind of dash his way through the water versus Zelga's kind of going to try and swim there. I'm going to check all these in-logic flipper checks, starting with another isolated location, which is our hobo friend. We have lots of friends here in Hyrule. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, Hyrule's made of friends.
Yeah, maybe our hobo is not a good a friend because he only gave us a heart piece, right? He could have at least given us like a full heart, right, to show us like how much of a friend he really is.
I know, right?
Yes, not.
But we'll take it. We're still only got on their first row of hearts here. Along the way, I'm sure we'll be picking up more and more health. Not like these runners need it. They're really good.
Yeah. Oh, alright. That is a really nice pickup here in the Waterfall Ferry. We find a full heart container, which means we have a little bit of, more importantly, we have that mirror. Not for, looking at ourselves and thinking that we're awesome looking, even though these guys are. We get to now traverse between the light and dark world. Did I just see a lamp there on Zora Ledge? Alright, so that layup, in addition to that auspicious cave, and in addition to that auspicious second sword, that actually does put our good wizard friend in logic. I'm sure these guys are very willing to find, and hopeful to find, a moon pearl, which means that they won't have to do Aghanim, but if they don't have Dark World access, that is their only way in. Also, for astute observers here on Zelda's side, you actually notice that maybe in his Y button item, it actually was kind of scrolling between, I think, the mirror and bombs without actually Zelda actually picking up or pushing the start menu. There is another feature that's enabled for SGL, which is called Quick Swap. Means that instead of actually pulling up your menu and then using the directional buttons to swap between items, you can actually just push L and R. It is really nice, really convenient, and saves you quite a bit of time. Looks like both runners are really just following same mentality, same path of basically going to also visit the mountain, which is also in logic. Gonna rescue our old man friend. Fortunately, no item progression, but we can at least make some more progress, and hopefully we're gonna avoid visiting our academic one today.
Yeah, just going through and clearing out all of our available checks. Nobody taking any, so-called gambles or risks or tests or whatever you want to call those things, and just staying within, the easier realm of things and hoping that you're going to find one of those items that's going to prevent you from, taking the, 5-minute trip up the tower?
Yeah, Aghanim Tower is something like 4 to 5 minutes. So it's quite the time commitment. So you really want to be sure that that's kind of like your only option at that point.
And Zelga heading here into our first dungeon, the Tower of Hera. This is the green pendant, so that means that once they beat this, they could head back over to Strashrala's house and hand in that pendant for another extra item. And we got an ice rod in the basement here.
Yeah.
Nice.
Wow. Normally when we see an ice rod this early, it just means you could just, put money that Turtle Rock is going to be a pendant. However, I believe we actually got a Dark World map check. We saw that Turtle Rock is a crystal today. It means that that ice rod is 100% required, and there is going to be no hunt today. Wow. Let's see. A nice, actually, half magic there on the floating island. Not quite accessible currently because we don't have the mitts. But it is going to be a nice goodie and quality of life pickup for our runners if they choose to get it afterwards. Look at these guys with their boots dashing through Spiral Cave. Always a really great sight to see.
Neum. Neum. All for 20 rupees.
Yeah. I would so much rather be dashing through Spiral Cave than walking through.
Yeah, walking through Spiral Cave just kind of feels like a little bit of Cave of Shame at times, depending on what's at the end. And then if there's like
That's
boots,
right.
if there's boots at the end, then you're just like, oh, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, game. Yeah, luckily though, because SGL, the tournament admins are super nice. They let all our runners start with boots, so we can always go fast. Speaking of more progression here, on the bottom of Paradox Cave, we found our first bow. Bows in this game are progressive, meaning there actually are 2 copies, but oftentimes the second bow is just somewhere buried, and this is going to be. This is most likely going to put the point our runners both in towards Eastern Kalos and the pod area.
And also picking up the mushroom there, the mushroom being one of the trading items that you can go turn that item in to the witch, and she'll give you another item in exchange. And we'll see if they ever head up back that direction. Now, later, never.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So speaking of this turning in the mushroom, we're actually going to see a quite nice shortcut demonstrated here on Zelga's side. If you can actually use the whirlpools to your advantage to travel all across the world. So that whirlpool takes you basically to the whirlpool right next to the witch's hut. So Zelga's going to be able to turn this in super fast.
Okay, yeah, so he went for the now versus the later or the never here. Just do that and, interrupt what I was, explaining about the mushroom here. And we'll see what it gets cooked into today. Ooh.
Okay, that's interesting. So we don't actually know if we need that item in particular, meaning that we haven't visited Misery Mire or Turtle Rock. We haven't seen the entrant medallions. So if Quake is one of them, we know it's absolutely required. If it's not, then it's just another item that you can use to freeze enemies with. Alright, looks like actually both runners just kind of decided to check out the basement or the first floor of Hera. And after picking up their ice rod, they said, I'm gonna go somewhere else. Certainly don't blame them. Committing to a pendant dungeon is just like something else. It could be a time sink. And you've already pulled out one of the 2 items from Hera, so maybe at this point, it's gonna be good enough. Meanwhile, both runners are, synced at the mines here. I've decided to go visit Uncle, and then it looks like Zelga's going to pay a visit here to the back of the castle. Now, assuming that McMonkey also does the exact same path, he is actually going to save a little bit of time over Zelga because Zelga actually had visited Dark Cross in the dark, and we found the map. So if McMonkey is counting his items correctly, and he goes all the way to Zelga's cell, not Zelga's cell. I do that at least once a stream when I have to when I commentate for Zelga here. If he's counting items, then he knows that the last item that's in Dark Cross is going to be the map, so he doesn't actually have to go visit there.
Ooh, nice full magic pickup there from that guard, and using the boomerang to yoink it as you run across, and also using the boomerang to yoink that key as you just leave the room.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of, so for very experienced NMG runners, that blue boomerang is one of the most frequently used items here in the escape sequence. So I certainly have no doubts for both these runners. They're very practiced with this. Zelga giving some entertainments here for our fans and viewers, freezing that green guard and using him as a weapon. And speaking of which, we found the other boomerang. We will actually see what the explicit opinion of the boomerangs are based on which boomerang these runners use. Whether it's the blue one that many people are used to, say from the NMG days, or it's going to be the red boomerang, which can go a lot farther, throw a lot farther, but has some sparkles that potentially may or may not cause some lag.
McMonkey going for the slightly slower strat here of just sorting the guard to death before picking up their red, I almost said blue boomerang, red bloomerang, hello. Their item from the chest before leaving the castle and saving and quitting, not going to Dark Cross, probably noticing that they had that there, and we're going back to Hera now for Zelda's side.
Yeah, no, definitely kudos for McMonkey there to be able to track his dungeon items and items correctly. Alright, looks like Zelga has made his decision. He used the red boomerang over there to hit that switch. Looks like he's gonna go back to Hera basement, and we're going to sit through our cutscene chest.
The nice thing about webcams being up for this is that you can actually see the coffee, or in this case, water break, that the runners are able to take when just chilling on the switch here. Because for those that don't know, when you're standing on the switch, you're kind of in like a not exactly there state. So even though these tiles are hitting you, you're not actually getting hit. And you can just hop off boomerang the last one and go that, and take a break, stretch your wrists, always important, hydrate, smile at the camera. Getting the boss key there after that coffee break room.
Yeah, Zelga is certainly hoping that the other item here in Pendant Hera is going to pay off for him. But also, as you mentioned, Kari, this is also the green pendant. So it's certainly very likely that Zelga is going to just full clear this dungeon, beat Moldorm, and then when he goes back over to the Eastern Palace area, he is going to be able to turn that green pendant in. All according to your prediction.
Yes, plans and whatnot. Just totally being an expert at this game.
That's it.
McMonkey going into Eastern Palace here, so we're going to be getting a heads up soon on what items this dungeon has, and we'll see if he decides to go through the entire thing, because it is the red pendant.
Yeah, certainly we're hoping that all 3 items are going to be before Armos, but you don't really get a choice for how the randomizer places items. For example, in the first chest of Eastern and Pendant Eastern, unless we see the map, never a promising sign.
Yeah, with the Pendant Dungeons, you kind of want to get those items, get the amount of items the dungeon has, and then get out of there. Hopefully, not needing to come back later when pedestal happens. But let's not speak of that word right now. We are still only not like 23 minutes into this race. So, Zelga posing with his green pendant after defeating Moldorm pretty easily with squishy hammer tail there.
Yeah, Moldorm was definitely a really clean fight there for Zelga. You need a little bit of luck, but also you need a good amount of skill to be able to take down Moldorm that quickly and consistently. I did take a sneak peek in that I saw Zelga pick up the second item from Moldorm, which was another bottle with, I think, some maybe blue potion. Certainly a really nice safety to have. Not the progression we were quite probably looking for. Because, what we really like to see at this point is that nice, shiny, round moon pearl. Okay, we get to see another cane, which is the blue variety. I think there's probably some more preference for red canes versus blue canes in this game, but at least it's some item invincibility. Always a great feeling for runners when your options are Pendant Eastern, Pendant Pod, or Aghanim. Alright, yeah. Oh, really nice. You know what? Zelga is going to capitalize on his green pendant tournament with that Cane of Verna, and he actually just did something called item dashing with the cane. So Cane of Verna only gives you some visibility. If you cane dash there, you actually have invisibility right through those cannonballs, so you don't actually end up getting hit by any of the cannonballs. And you can just dash right through. Oh, alright, well, speaking of that discovery, Pendant Eastern is our answer today with that Moon Pearl in the big chest. McMonkey says, I am out of here. I don't want anything else to do with this dungeon. They have the Dark World access, and we do not need to fight our Aghanim wizard friend today.
And also just, leaving Armos to sit in the basement and wondering when we're going to be coming towards them. Not today, guys. Not today.
Zelda, wow, that's really nice. A skeleton room there. For those of us who can't actually, see what everything is actually going on, Zelda actually predicted where the skeletons are going to pop up just based on his movement, and then he just had a really nice quick kill there. Very well practiced. Meanwhile, McMonkey taking no breaks and going straight to the Dark World. First visit is Hype Cave and getting some blue mail, which is really nice. And otherwise, just a couple of scragglers for heart pieces.
Yeah, stuff in the Dark World hits a little bit harder, and we still, first row of hearts, it's pretty good, but just be nice to have this blue mail possibly when slamming our faces into any bosses that we might start going here. We'll see if he heads into Thieves Town once he finishes these overworld checks looping around that direction.
Yeah, especially with that blue mail pickup. Especially with that mirror, they don't have to death warp anymore. So any more amount of safety that they can get is definitely they're not going to turn that down. All right, checking out a mirror lock location here in a cave south of the Haunted Grove. Nothing of note. Looks like these guys are on, 10 hearts and 9 hearts respectively. With blue mail, the Zelga's coming up soon. Looks like they're probably set for the rest of the game. Alright, still flush with cash here. McMonkey's going to give us to take a look at what the digging game has. Meanwhile, Zelda's making his way through Eastern Palace. He is on 1 heart. 2 hearts. He still needs to be a little careful. Hopefully he won't He'll make it through the end of this dungeon.
Alright, enemy drops being really nice there. Bring him back up to 4 hearts there. And actually, we are going to visit Armos. Just prove me wrong, Zelga. Thanks. Doing the strat here where we bring all but one of them down, or shoot them so that one has like 1 HP left, so that when they turn red, it doesn't turn red, you can just bop it right away. And getting that red pendant, possibly setting up for just in case pedestal pull or something. You know, while we're in there, it's an easy dungeon. Maybe? We'll see.
Yeah, you know, and certainly Zelga was counting his items in Eastern. He knew that there was one left on Armos. He was already at where the big chest was. You know, to him, he was probably actually just trying to be as thorough as he can, because now he probably doesn't want to go back there ever again. And it's probably just like incremental cost for him in order to defeat Armos, right? As we saw very, very quickly, and pick up that last item for peace of mind.
That too. Math is hard, yeah.
I'm not good with numbers. I always have to rely on my co-commentators to help me out here. Kari, that's you.
Oh no.
Are we screwed?
Math's scary, numbers big. No thoughts, head empty.
Alright, Zelga following fast in McMonkey's footsteps right into the Dark World, visiting Hype Cape, getting his blue mail. Meanwhile, McMonkey is making some more progress. As you said, he was heading over to the Village of Outcast type area, and potentially he might take a dip into Easttown. He does have the hammer, he has the Master Sword, Easttown is a crystal. It is a very fully clearable dungeon. Very attractive play here for both runners. Alright, McMonkey, chest number 1 here in Thiefstown, picking up the big key. In the front 4 chests of Thiefstown, that big key is guaranteed to be somewhere. So we're hoping that there's going to be some nice things here for us. Okay.
Okay.
Is that red mail or purple mail?
Well, blue plus red is purple, so yes.
Oh, yeah. Did he also get like a dye job or something? Did his hair color change? that is some one powerful piece of armor.
Oh, you got like a whole kit in there for you.
Oh, okay. So we actually have big key and 3 items here in the front. One of the items being the silver arrows. This is actually the other bow that we were talking about. So bows are progressive, and it turns out you really needed that bow that we found in Paradox Cave.
Oh yeah.
Silver arrows are significantly more powerful than wooden arrows. They do cause a little bit of lag, but totally worth it if you can manage them properly.
We'll be seeing how powerful those silver arrows are on some of the bosses coming up later in some of these crystal dungeons, and just kind of melt.
Oh yeah, especially since they haven't cleared any crystal dungeons or even pendant dungeons. Oh no, I guess Zelga has cleared both Eastern and Hera. But because they get silver arrows so early, it is really a nice return of investment, because you have so many more bosses that you can just use silver arrows on, where you would have used wooden arrows or maybe like the sword before. Helmasaur comes to mind, Desert Palace Landmill comes to mind, Vitreous from Misery Mire comes to mind. I mean, there are just lots of opportunities for you to go faster. Yeah, other than I think Zelda wanting to be a bit more thorough in him clearing out Hera and him clearing out Eastern in order to beat the bosses, the routing for these guys have basically been identical, right? You see McMonkey being slightly ahead in Thiefstown, but Zelga is super hot on his heels, and basically the time difference is the time that Zelga ended up taking to clear the rest of the pending dungeons.
Alright, heading back and gonna rescue the maiden in her cell. What's she got in her chest? There's another
Oh,
heart container. She loves
yeah.
us.
Yeah, seeing that heart container, even actually if it was a 20 rupee drop, is actually really nice for two reasons. One is that we actually get to see the fourth item, which means that we know that blind doesn't have anything. And also, we did not get a small key at all, which means that the small key is actually locked within itself in the big chest. So we don't actually have to visit 2 extra rooms, which means that this is actually a nice, fast thieves town. Alright, McMonkey being the first of our 2 runners here taking on Blind. A fun fact about Blind, if you do the exact same thing, he will do the exact same thing. This is often referred to as a scripted fight, and so long as you stay on script, he goes down easy peasy. McMonkey made it look very easy. And picking up our first crystal between our both runners.
Alright, now what?
Yeah, now what? That is actually a really good question.
We got some more overworld checks here. Or I guess we're going to be dipping into the front half of Skull Woods here and seeing if got anything nice there.
Yeah.
Really hot if we found the fire rod in the front part here, then we can just, go ahead and finish the rest of the dungeon while we're in this area.
For Skullwoods, in order to finish Skullwoods, I think they actually need the fire rod in order to access the back.
Yeah, so I was thinking, like, if they get it in the front half here, then they can just stay, and then McMonkey could just stay in this area and complete the dungeon while he's up here instead of having to come back later.
Yeah, when the game have a great sense of humor, if they just put the fire rod in the, let's say, big chest of Skullwoods, it's just like, oh, it's just convenient. You knew it was there in the vanilla game. Why didn't you know that it was there in Rando? Yeah, McMonkey here is certainly gonna hope that he finds some amount of progression, although even though I think we've only saw a small key, a map, and the big key. Well, at least the big key is here, so he can bomb jump over to see what the contents are, but you really want to see some items here. No such luck. Meanwhile, Zelga is taking down his own blind scripted fight. 0 damage from Zelga. Very impressive fight. Oh, poor McMonkey.
Aww.
Alright, so we saw all of the keys and all of the dungeon items in the front of Skullwoods. Means that in order to access both items from Skullwoods, they need the fire rod because both of them are in the back. I'm sorry. Worst Skullwoods that you could possibly find.
Yeah, it's too good to be true. Let's move on. What's up here on the ledge? Just a piece of heart. We don't need that. We're on our second row of hearts. We're fine.
Yeah, even though these runners have the cave, they are definitely not going to spend that much time investing just for heart piece. I can't even see them going for heart container. Alright, meanwhile, Zelga is just mirroring and following McMonkey's footsteps here. He's gonna find his equally sad Skullwoods. Unfortunately, neither runner has the King of Samari here, so they're gonna have to do this the NMG intended old-fashioned way of moving that statue around. You can see what a great time this room is for both our runners. Meanwhile, McMonkey here in the north part of Hyrule is going to use his game knowledge and visit Graveyard Ledge and mirror right over, even though Teamstem here is technically locked by the nits. You can just mirror, and they're no longer blocked by nits. so what are these runners actually kind of looking for? They're looking for some type of item progression or direction. So something that they don't have right now is they don't have Titan Smiths, which could hopefully open up a lot more. If they had the Fire Rod, that can open up the back of Skull Woods and actually get something of note from this dungeon.
Yeah, it's like they kind of have like the half kit right now of important stuff, but you still have the important things like Fire Rod, Hookshot, Flute, possibly Book, depending on where if Desert is locked behind there instead of being Flute locked instead. 2 medallions. Heading up here to Catfish, throwing him a skull present. And what's he gonna give us in return? Aw, just a little love. Everyone loves us today.
But only for a little bit, right? And we were apparently forced to receive it from the hobo, but McMonkey is rejecting Catfish's friendship. I'm a little sad inside. And actually, Kari, you had listed so many items that we needed for Gomo, and we're actually at almost the 40-minute mark. When I heard your list, I was like, wait, how do we are still missing so much stuff?
Does it feel like this game has gone on longer than it has, or that we've just found so much stuff at the front that we kind of expect to have everything by now?
Yeah, maybe I just have expectations for these runs. It doesn't really matter where the items are. I just expect them to be able to finish the seed very quickly. Yes, the seed is not cooperating today. We did see, in this case, 2 pendant dungeons in the light world. It means that, as we can see from our awesome tracker here done by Link Force, keeping us honest, especially me, most of our dark world dungeons are crystals, especially since like Mire, Turtle Rock, potentially Swamp, and Pod. I mean, these are long dungeons, so our runners are definitely in for quite the ride.
Yeah. So McMonkey here, after clearing out all of those Dark World overworld location. Not I said Overlord. That's what the Seed.
It's the same thing.
Like Seed's being an overlord today and forcing our runners into doing horrible things, like going into Pod, which is a pendant.
Oh yeah, because what better trip to make in the Seed from Pendant Eastern versus Pendant Pod?
Now, Pod might take a bit to start seeing some items here, as it likes to front load its keys.
Yeah, so at least for Pod, there are 6 small keys, and just because of where all of the locked doors are, the logic in the game expects you to use the keys in the absolute dumbest way possible. Speaking of, what a nice find here in Pendant Pod, we find our next piece of progression, which is the hook shots.
Yeah, that's no key.
Yeah, that is. Well, you might be able to use it as a key, right? It's kind of pointy at the end, so maybe you can pick at locks or something.
I mean, if you fire it with enough force at the lock, it might as well just break the lock, and we can, cheat our way through or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, hookshot is going to be our next, it's like our master key for the Seed, right?
I'm sure it certainly feels that way to McMonkey, just being pleased to pick up another item that is necessary.
Yeah, alright, so we're actually getting a demonstration here of how powerful those silver arrows are. So normally in that room, you have the wooden arrows. You actually need 2 hits to kill that red mimic, and because the way the red mimics work is if it looks down on you, it fires a fireball shot at you. And in order to avoid that, you kind of wiggle your way around, but if you only need to fire the arrow once, it's a lot faster. Alright, yeah, so I think I was saying something about keys earlier, and then I got excited and found hookshot instead. Right, so a pod has 6 small keys, and they expect you to use the keys in the worst possible way, so you can't actually soft lock yourself out of the dungeon. So we're always going to be able to find 4 small keys in the front, and then the last 2 keys are going to be here in the back. which means that there are actually going to be some rooms where potentially you spend a key in order to get a key from the chest. So if you know the pod key logic well, you can actually avoid those rooms.
Yeah, one of those advanced things. When you run rando for a very long time, you start learning those little bitty things such as key logic. Another important place to do that is Ice Palace. Just knowing, depending on what items you have and what keys you grab and what places you've been and how the moon set in the night last night, you can skip a bunch of that dungeon.
Yeah, Ice Palace logic is, I would say, quite convoluted. Depending on whether or not you need the hook shot versus the cane versus the hammer, etc. But luckily for these guys, at least they have the hook shot and the hammer, so we don't have to worry too much. And of course, with that really nice lamp pickup on Zora Ledge, not only our runners, but us as commentators and viewers are going to be able to see what all of these guys are going to do here in the dark rooms, because they have that really nice light cone.
Nothing super nice. And I had a little bit pause of thinking there. Do I want to keep going in or not? No, I think I'll take my hook shot and head off into the sunset to greener pastures.
Now, is the Dark World actually greener? Because I certainly do remember the sun setting because it's pretty dark, but I don't really remember that much grass or green. Like, is this really greener on the other side?
Loading. Now loading. Yes. Because you have stuff to do there. And so I looked at all this nice, grown grass and everything.
Totally.
And also, it's greener because the water is green. And there's a lot of water.
Right.
Therefore, it is greener.
You're absolutely right, because whenever I see green water, I am totally comforted. Mm-hmm.
There's a healthy ecosystem.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, and McMonkey, noping out a pod is certainly really consistent with all of the other pendant dungeons. I would certainly not be surprised if Zelga decides to just finish up and get the last pendant off of Helmasaur. I unfortunately had not been counting items in pods, so I'm not actually sure if there is one on Helmasaur, but I do recall seeing a map and a compass, so my guess is yes. Okay, so as it looks like we're watching McMonkey traversing the green waters of danger here, and hopefully we get some blue water. Taking that hook shot with the mirror, with the hammer, we can go visit our next fully clearable crystal dungeon.
Yeah, very good point there. Fully clearable, because at this point, you're kind of going into the ABCs of rando. Always be clearing. So even if you're not sure of kind of where you want to be going next, the best bet is to go somewhere that you can clear it and make progression by getting a crystal, even if you don't find any items down there.
Mm-hmm.
But luckily, Swamp Palace is a very dense item dungeon. There's a lot of chests in here.
Yeah, there are 6 items here in Swamp Palace. 2 of them are notoriously in the left side of Swamp. This is an area that has been the bane of existence for many runners. Oftentimes, what we'll actually see runners do is they'll clear the first part of Swamp, go directly to the boss, and then make a decision for whether or not they want to do left side, because doing left side can actually be quite tedious.
And it looks like Zelga kind of breaking off of his thoroughness from the previous 2 pendant dungeons, and also heading into Swamp Palace, possibly chasing those amounts of chests as well.
Yeah, if you told me this was going to be a linear seed, I probably would have believed you. I did not think that our runners were going to follow this close of a path together.
With the way the seed started, with kind of it giving good little pockets of items here and there, I was thinking it was going to open up a little bit more as well. But Yeah, everyone seems to be chasing the chest amounts here, and McMonkey here doing the diver down. Ooh, there's a flute underneath that water there.
Yeah, that is a really nice find here. You know, our runners are just following the logical breadcrumb sticks pieces, right? You know, as you said, it's just we just have halfsies, we have bits and pieces of anything stringing along us, to the next piece, which of course we find the flute and mitts and swamp. All right, suddenly now the seat has become just totally wide open.
Yep, swamp once again cracked it open. And I don't know, I have the little rumbly feeling in my gut that I don't think McMonkey was gonna come back to left side after beating the boss here.
Yeah, I was so fixated on finding that flute and finding the mist that I actually had not been counting the number of items that we've seen here in Swamp. If it's 3 items, I can certainly see runners coming back. If it's 2, maybe. If it's 1, very unlikely. Considering they just found mist, they just found flute. You're sinking in probably on the order of like a minute or so, adjusting left side swamp, where you have so many more checks open. It's hard to see them kind of committing to left side so early.
That's the big key from the boss, and according to our lovely tracker, we were at 5 items for here, so...
Alright, 5 items out of 6? I don't see either runner coming back here.
Yeah, I don't even think... Personally, if I was playing this, I wouldn't even... Yeah, I wouldn't duck back in just to open the big chest either. It looks like McMonkey is following that same kind of gut there and moving on.
Yeah, my guess is with that flute... Oh, speaking... Okay, I'm gonna see that thought, see this thought here first, is you actually see him quick swap into the mirror, and then immediately using it to get a really nice time save to dash out of Sanctuary. Is really nice, especially with the advent of quick swap here.
A little stretch break here as we unlock our other friend, our flying friend, the duck, which opens up a few more locations that we can easily zoom to.
Yeah, with that flute, there's so much mobility there with the flute. I mean, it's very natural to just dash over to Kakariko here and then activate it. And of course, paired with those myths that we just found, we have access to the Mire area. So this is actually going to be an opportunity to see what our entry medallion is to Misery Mire. If it's Quake, great. Our runners can dip in. If it's not, they have access. Now, of course, they don't have the coveted red cane as opposed to the blue cane. So, do you want to dive Crystal Misery Mire without the red cane? That's going to be a question left to our runners. Alright, meanwhile, Zelda actually taking a slightly different path here to Kakariko. He is also going to take advantage of those myths. He's going to pick up our frog friend with the mirror, with the hammer, with the myths. He can actually pair this actually up really nicely, in my opinion. He is going to be able to do hammer pegs. He's going to be able to turn in the smiths. He is going to be able to pick up the purple chest, and he's going to be able to activate that flute. Really efficient routing here by Zelda.
Indeed, those last few overworld checks here. Nothing so far, just getting another little heart piece there in the hammer pegs. That's what those things are.
That's right, yes. And we also saw another example here of item dashing, specifically only for the 1.0, is that when you hold A and item, you can dash at the same time. And you just saw, it feels so satisfying to be able to dash through all those pegs at once. Try it for yourself. It's actually a great stress reliever.
It's the bubble wrap of the Zelda universe.
Oh man, that's so great. I miss bubble wrap now.
So instead of hopping into Mire and doing some checks there, doing the, actually clearable desert here, going in the back way via mirroring and checking out all these chests here, maybe hoping to get lucky.
Yeah, I think for these runners, or at least the item placements for dungeons, is just so front-loaded with all these dungeon items. Right, we saw the front of Skull Woods was only dungeon items, and both items were in the back, and we saw the big key, the small key, and the compass so far. And then, of course, when we find our first item, it's going to be 3 bombs.
I was about to say, like, oh, and there's the map, but it was a chest later, so,
Yeah, and so which means that there's going to be another item here on Landmo. You could potentially find this out if you beat the boss first. However, because the map was where it is, you probably not actually didn't save that much more time. Alright, so we're actually going to get a demonstration here on McMonkey's side, probably sooner than Zelda, how powerful these silver arrows are really going to be. So without silver arrows, what does McMonkey have to work with? He has a Master Sword and he has a hammer. Hammer hitbox is kind of not pleasant, even though it does temper sword damage. Master Sword is not as strong. Silver arrows are going to one-shot Landmo. A significant time save here.
It also have the Ice Rod, which,
Oh, that's true. You are absolutely right. Ice Rod's timing is a little finicky. It's not as it is predictable, but it's not as I guess it's not as commonly used, so runners aren't as like familiar with it, I would say.
Right. Kinda... I don't know if the lag is any better or worse versus Ice Rod versus Silver Arrows, but you're more commonly probably able to find Silver Arrows rather than Mr. Ice Rod that likes to hide in the weirdest of places.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, especially since Turtle Rock is a crystal, I mean, you would probably just never see that Ice Rod until you're on a 30-minute Ice Rod hunt.
And just more bombs from Landmo, so dry desert today.
You mean explosive desert, right?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't exactly call it the bomb just because there wasn't anything, there, but other than the crystal. I'm sure these runners would love to find that fire rod sooner or later.
Oh, yeah.
Sooner rather than later.
Yeah, actually, yeah. So let's try and get a recap for what we're still looking for, because it's been about 15 minutes since you last gave that really long, gigantic list of progression. Hopefully, we can trim it down a little bit. So it does look like we need the fire rod, most importantly because we need access to the back of Skull Woods, which is a crystal, and we need it for Trinex, which is a crystal TR, and we need it for Ice Palace potentially.
On where that Bombos medallion is also hiding. We're also on the hunt for the Cane of Somaria, the red cane, which we're going to need to clear Misery Mire to get through the dungeon there. And there's a little switch in the back that you can't clone yourself and stand on, so you need to put a block on it.
That's right. Yeah. And really, to make any type of progression into Turtle Rock, the dungeon itself, you're going to want that Cane of Somaria to make those moving blocks on those conveyor belts.
Yeah, you don't want to just kind of go in there and stare across the gap and, ponder your life existence. That doesn't clear the dungeon for us.
The last piece, it looks like maybe that's potentially unknown, is neither runner has gone back up the mountain to visit Dark Death Mountain. So we actually don't know what the Turtle Rock entry medallion is. If it's quick, we are good to go for just our 2 red counterpart items. If it's either Bombos or Ether, we will be on another medallion hunt again.
Oh god, I blinked and missed his Landmola fight, so we'll just say that, yeah, that was really good.
Yeah.
One there.
That's right, yeah. One indication is that it looks like he actually has 27 arrows, which kind of meant that, at least to me, he started with 30 arrows, which means he had a really nice and clean Landmo fight.
Yeah, McMonkey's the same with the 27. That's math. Hey, you're
right. Hey, you've inspired me, Kari.
Congratulations, you did it. I wasn't squinting at the tracker there, and it does look like with that Desert Palace clear, and Thieves Town was our other 5/6 crystal, that unlocks Pyramid Fairy, and McMonkey is getting that big bomb and marching back up to the pyramid there.
Yeah. Speaking of marching, we actually see some nice movement here on McMonkey's side. He is actually trying to hook or dash hook his way through. So what happens is if you get hit by something and then you start your hook and then you start dashing, you actually can dash with the bomb. Whereas normally if you just push the A button, the bomb will basically set down and try and activate. Once again, doing some more movement here, doing some hook speed, basically activating that. Just activating, basically activating super speed there with the hook shot on stairs, just to make his entry into Pyramid Fairy a little bit faster.
And letting go the B and picking up a green potion, you know, just in case, maybe, possibly. Seeing what was in there. Zelga did, I believe that was Paradox Cave, check there, and did the Turtle Rock check, and I didn't catch it first try, so let's see where it is. Oh, that is a Bombos entry for Turtle Rock. We need another item.
Alright, so I guess we didn't have to go on Ice Rod hunt today, but we're gonna go on a Bombos hunt rod today.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, never mind! Zelga, Galaxy bringing his way through the entry of Turtle Rock, just ends up fighting it right underneath the doormat.
Along with a Tempered Sword, which is a nice little power upgrade there. No longer have to spin to win in a lot of cases.
Oh yeah, so the Tempered Sword upgrade from Master Sword is quite significant. And so yeah, as we kind of look at Ganon fights, Master Sword, you have to do a significantly more amount of spins, 24 Master Sword spins versus Tempered Sword used to be 12 slashes. Not to mention that they have plenty of bosses and dungeons ahead of them to clear. That Tempered Sword damage is going to do. It's going to be a lot more efficient for them to just ram everything in sight.
Zelga took a trip through the Spike Cave. I always get a little nervous when they time it just perfectly to do the final heart, Cane of Burna spin at the end there and just barely get through. But nothing at the end there, so it looks like taking that Bombos medallion and heading into Ice Palace.
Because if there's nothing like a C's sense of humor that says, hey, here's Bombos, the fire rod is right behind it. In Ice Palace. Never happened before. I also have to kind of applaud our runners here. I haven't actually seen them give too much of a reaction one way or another, so they must have really good game faces.
Yeah, you think this was a game of poker or something and not like Randomizer.
Yeah. I mean, these guys are so, focused and deep in thought here. Hey, McMonkey reminding me, at least, that there was indeed that half magic is sitting there on floating island. Whether or not Zelga remembered or didn't care, he is not going to have it for probably the rest of the seed.
Yeah, it's not a spot you'd really go back to, especially after clearing out all Hookshot Cave. I knew there was something good there because it had been mentioned that there's a nice safety item there, so it was nice to see that it gets picked up.
Yeah, that half magic actually is going to be really nice for McMonkey following Zelga right here into Ice Palace. You actually see that Zelga's magic meter is a little bit on the low side. It's still fine, but the fact that McMonkey has half magic means he doesn't have to be as conservative with his magic usage. We can certainly see much more content out of Ice Palace today. Neither runner has that coveted red cane that we're all looking for. Without that red cane, we cannot do any type of breaking ice today, so we're actually going to see some more traditional Ice Palace bomb jumping here. Zelga got it. First try, really nicely done.
Also good clear on that Pengator room, just one circle there and then they're done, and we'll be dropping in to the lower portions.
Yeah, that's actually another advantage that the Temper Sword has in this case. Whereas you can actually do that spin with the Temper Sword, but with any other sword, well, like with lower swords, it's not enough damage. Alright, let's see if Zelga remembers that he is doing this dungeon front to back, so he needs to pull that tongue in order to open that door. He does. I am proud. People have gotten so used to having Icebreaker here because they enter it this way, so they don't actually pull the tongue, so they sometimes runners forget. Alright, unfortunately just rewarded with the map. Furthering our trend here for dungeons that are just front-loaded, or we find all of the dungeon items early on.
There's a book.
That is Alright, so that shows mixed feelings. I'm hoping that it is certainly necessary rather than just wild goose chases. So we have already had access and completed desert, which means that we don't actually need the book to get into desert. However, this does open up tablets, and to get to Ether Tablet and Bombos Tablets are not the most convenient of spots to go visit again. Oh! Alright, Zelga and McMonkey here, making the right call to go into Ice Palace. If they were going to wait for that Red Cane to do Icebreaker and Ice Palace, they were going to wait for the duration of the scene, because Zelga just picked up the Red Cane of Samaria from Ice Palace. Wow.
Alright, there was one.
That's right. So
Fire
we are actually in, we're in Fire Rod Go mode.
So, Bombos here will crack the shell of Cold Stare in one go, opening up to the fluffy center, which Zelga just shoves in the corner. Tempered Sword doing its job, cutting through him just like butter.
I think you are the first person I've heard refer to Cold Stare as having a fluffy center. That is so awesome.
He's popping in pink.
I just never thought of that.
It's like a marshmallow nougat candy.
Yeah, they hurt quite a lot.
That's the cavities from when you eat them too much.
Oh. Alright, this is Zelga's third crystal under his belt. Thank you again to our tracker Link Force for keeping our tracker up to date. Zelga with that newfound Cane of Samaria. Looks like he has a fully clearable Misery Mire ahead of him. Now, unfortunately, there are going to be 2 Firelock chests here in Misery Mire, which is the right side. But he's in Fire Rod Go mode, so unless the big key is over there, he knows that he doesn't have to check those right side chests, or those Firelock chests. Being in Fire Rod Go mode. Oh no, never mind. He has Fire Source. He can actually access this. Wouldn't it be fun to have Firelock Fire?
Yeah, we do have the lamp. It's a little awkward, and compared to just shooting things with the fire rod and making it go fast, you have to get right next to that lantern and sprinkle the dust in there. You know, wave the embers and stoke the fire a little bit harder.
Do a little fire dance. Make sure that all the gods are appeased. Oh wow, did you see how clean that Cold Stare fight was from McMonkey? Oh, alright! McMonkey slashing through Cold Stare like he was nothing. Meanwhile, Zelga isn't officially in go mode surprisingly fast at 1 hour, 7 minutes, and 7-ish seconds, finding the Fire Rod here in the very first chest of Mire. He is on the hunt for that Mire Big Key, and he is Alright, he's no longer on the hunt for the Mire Big Key because he found it on the second chest of Mire. He is going straight to Mysterious. I have now enough time to actually say that he is going to go into this dungeon before he actually gets to Mysterious and just slaughters him with the silver arrows.
Thanks, God Mire. I mean, usually Godmire is when you're already, you know, in go mode, and that boss key is in that first chest on the bridge there that's easily accessible. But I think we can call this you know, demigod mire with the item you needed for go mode, and the boss key in the next easiest chest to get.
Yeah, and actually, especially for finding the fire rod here so early in Mire, you actually look at Zelga being able to actually pull off spooky action here, not having to go and hit the switch early on. It just hits these torches and anti-fairies, and magically the switches would just swap right for them. You cannot do this without the fire rod, so just really some nice luck here for both our runners.
And we'll get to see the power of the silver arrows again here when fighting Vitreous. 1 arrow per eyeball for the small guys, and 2 in the big one.
Yeah, blinking, you literally missed that fight. Zelga taking advantage of quick swap once again, quick swapping over to the mirror. He knows that he is done with the mire area. He is most likely going to use that mirror. Flew it over to 4, go finish up Skullwoods, and then make his way up to Turtle Rock. Meanwhile, McMonkey is very closely behind Zelga. He just picked up his fire rod for his go mode. He is going to pick up his big chest right here in a couple seconds. Assuming the game registers. There we are. He is also now in go mode. Key-wise. And he is going to take down Vitreous most likely just as quickly with 30 silver arrows to his name. I'm sure both these runners very much value their time spent in the front of Skullwoods. Picking up nothing except dungeon items.
Yeah. A bit, maybe.
It is certainly a very reasonable play because you can always go to Crystal Dungeon, and there are 2 potential items here in the front. It just happens to work out, or didn't work out in this case, that nothing was in the front. Alright, so Zelga's going to take down Mothula, which actually can be a dangerous fight at times. However, he has 8.5 working hearts out of 11. He has red mail, he has fire rod, he has temper sword. He hopefully should be fine. I've seen him do this fight on a whole heck of a lot less equipment. Equally fast fight here on Vitreous. On McMonkey's side, he's going to pick up his next to last crystal and head to Skullwoods, and then head up to TR, just like Zelga. So I looked away for 5 seconds, and Moth is dead on Zelga's side? Got it.
No, just stuck behind him and poked him a couple times with the sword. Got lucky without smacking him into the pattern. The pattern was good, so he got lucky not smacking him into the spikes, which would kind of negate the damage. And yeah, that was you know, less of a sword fight and more of a bug swatter.
Alright, I think we have to ask Zelga what he was drinking because, we saw him drink something out of that blue bottle when he was in coffee break room in the Harrow basement, but then he just drank something again, and he wasn't in a tile room, so, we really gotta, question him for this.
Which color potion do you have in your bottle today?
Yeah, what are you spending your magic on here? Okay, so just a comparison for our runner's progress, Zelga is quickly making his way up to Turtle Rock. Meanwhile, McMonkey is basically just at back of Skullwoods clear behind him. Back of Skullwoods clear and a mountain climb. Certainly nothing insurmountable for either runner here. Alright, you see Zelga activating his hook speed there as well, making his way into the portal to rock just that little bit faster. Quick swapping over to Bombos, no menu time needed. Zelga's execution, and also McMonkey, both these runners have just executed super well. McMonkey especially has some really nice boss fights that we saw from his Coaster kill. Hopefully he'll have just as friendly as a mock fight as Zelga did. Zelga taking the fast route here, or faster route, going right side first because it has the mirror and the hook shots.
And McMonkey's Mothula, kind of stood up near the top a little bit long there, so not as fast as a fight there, but still clean.
Yeah, sometimes Moth just refuses to cooperate and just decides to stay in the upper corner, and you're just like, dude, like, come down here, I need to kill you. Zelga doesn't want to see that compass. Oh, so you never really want to see a compass here in any dungeon, but in specifically, he really wants to be able to see more small keys. The more small keys he gets in this case, the higher the chance he can actually skip Laser Bridge, which is between a go mode Turtle Rock and a not go mode or full clear Turtle Rock. That's pretty much about as much use you're going to get. See some really nice maneuvering there with the King of Samaria, pushing that block, taking advantage of the iframes, and pushing his way to get that small key chest.
Yeah, so those chain chomps, they're not nice.
No, they do a lot of damage. Because at this point, at least in the game, expects you to have blue mail, because that's the vanilla prize from Ice Palace. So they really ramped up the difficulty and how hard enemies hit by this point.
Like this is the sort of kind of final dungeon before the big finale or something.
It's not something like that. It's almost as if the game developers had like planned this or something. This is also, for what it's worth, pretty convenient for our runners as well, just because that they were able to do Turtle Rock as their final dungeon because they're already up the mountain. So what's going to happen is they're going to finish Turtle Rock, and then they're just going to basically dash right over to Ganon's Tower.
Yeah, if runners can do that, they'll do that. The other good thing is, you know, possibly in some cases you can save Tower Hera when it's a crystal for last, and then just finish that last and literally be on Ganon's doorstep.
Yeah, unfortunately, that was not the case today because we had a pendant Hera, and there was no way that our runners were going to have that be their last one before Ganon's Tower. So this is about as good as we're going to get. McMonkey taking a slightly alternative route here to the fireball, the torches room, but still manages to hookshot his way off of the moving platform in order to get into this door.
Unfortunately, keys weren't nice, so we're going to be seeing Laser Bridge until we find a key. There it is.
Alright, yeah, dueling key pickups here. McMonkey ends up picking up the big key from Roller Room, or the map room, and Zelga ends up picking up his last small key that he needs. Alright, so Tempered Sword, Red Mail, Trinex should be certainly nothing very familiar to Zelga. Maybe not with the Red Mail, but with Tempered Sword, Fire Rod, Ice Rod, normal magic. He has played enough NMG to be able to get this fight down.
Sneaking behind the big turtle there, and quick swap also helping. Don't need to time your pause to switch the menu because you can't pause while stuff's exploding on the screen there.
Yeah, a very clean execution there on Zelga's side. Everything that Zelga has done and McMonkey has done, they just make it look so easy. I'm going to say this right now. It only looks easy until you go try it. It takes a lot of practice to be able to be this consistent as these two runners are.
Yeah, that's kind of where the speed running half of the experience comes from. That you keep saying that, you know, Zelga's experienced in NMG being no major glitches, probably I'd say one of the major categories for vanilla Link to the Past speedrunning. And very handy to know strategies from there in terms of getting through randomizer seeds, just so you know how to take down bosses at, lower kits than what you might find in randomizer, and then just also knowing boss patterns and just knowing how the game does its normal vanilla thing.
Yeah. Speaking of which, we mentioned earlier that there was a really short trip between Rock and GT. Get your guesses in right now for where you think the GT big key is. Numbers 1 through 22 inclusive. We will be going off of Zelga's counter here to see where the big key is. And of course, actually, because the race is actually fairly close, McMonkey is very shortly close to Trinex. GT Redding actually could take into play here, depending on where it is. Looks like Zelga is making his way to right side first. Check Hope Room, and if there's a small key, I can, just like he found right there, I can imagine him going full right. Alright, skipping tile room, which is very expected because you don't want to wait in another tile room for another minute or so for one more check when there are 20 other checks ahead of you. Really nice. Really nice right side here with use of the fire rod.
Getting bullied by the Gibdos there a little bit.
You're not our friends. You don't have pieces of heart to give us.
Yeah, you take our hearts away. Speaking of hearts, just one heart there in the chest, and no big key just yet.
Alright, looks like, no right side. Zelga is going to just steal that key there to make sure that he has enough for the climb, and now we're going to go full left. Alright, so I think that was 6 checks. 7 was Torch. Zelga with 741 rupees decides that he does not need 20 more rupees to his name. 8 and 9 were nothing. 10 is more bombs, which is over capacity. 11 is, I think, is that our last small key?
We've had a lot of keys so far. He's got 4 inventory. That's a lot of keys.
I've seen a lot of ammunition pickup here. I was actually kind of curious where all our resources were. Oh no, thanks Stalfos. Messing up our blue boomerang usage here. Also another commonly seen strat here from NMG. Alright, meanwhile, as we're trying to follow Zelga's path here across GT, McMonkey has also just a really nice Trinex fight. Another good indication of how good your Trinex fight is how much or lack thereof ice is on the floor. We didn't see any, which means it's certainly really nice. It was a nice performance. And with that, McMonkey is on his way to GT. He's going to join Zelga here on the hunt for his own big key, which we haven't found yet.
Heading into what is known as Randomizer Room, because you only visit here in Randomizer. And there it is!
There it is! Alright, Zelga's not even bothering to check for the rest of the chests. For his current equipment, he has Red Mail, which defensive-wise he doesn't need, certainly. He has Silver Arrows, which means that he can't find anything else, and he already has Tempered Sword. He could try and take some more time to look for the last sword upgrade, which is Butter Sword. However, on Ganon, it saves exactly 0 time, and any amount of time you spend extra checking chests is going to just be more time taken away from you. Whoa, alright, so you see actually here, Zelga used Silver Arrows for those mimics because they're one-shot, done really nicely. He's quick-swapping over to the wooden arrows, potentially for the rest of the gauntlet, probably also for consistency, but as well as just reducing lag that the Silver Arrows cause. I really like this play.
Yeah, those Silver Arrows are powerful, but they sparkle. And the more stuff is on screen, the more lag there is, and with a lot of enemies and explosions and things moving around, that little bit of lag might throw you off just enough that you're not going to be hitting stuff as quickly as you feel like you should.
looks like McMonkey here has also chosen the same routing as Zelga for the GT Basement Big Key Hunt, so he probably won't be able to gain any more time. So now it's just actually a battle of pure execution.
And turning those silvers back on for Lanmo 2. 3.
Yeah, really nicely done. That fireball guy, the shooter, the timing of those fireballs actually can really mess up timing. So the fact that Zelk was able to do that, also Lambo 1 and Lambo 2, is just also shows how much practice he's had at this game. Also showing us how nice that Canis Maria is. 1 of 2, this being the other most satisfying rooms in the game. It looks like in order to light these torches, Zelga's going to opt to use the lamp, hoping that he has exactly half the magic bar, so he doesn't have to pick up that magic refill on the lower screen there. Looks like just not quite enough, unfortunately.
Yeah, just a little bit under. Had to reach across the gap for that last torch in that room there. I'm surprised, Link or I guess Phoenix, is it Phoenix Wright or Edgeworth? I can't tell.
It is Phoenix Wright. He just happens to have red mail on.
Yeah, okay. Phoenix Wright in Edgeworth's suit has to really reach his arm over that gap. I'm surprised that he can reach, but I guess, enough powder dust gets in there from the lamp. And second mold arm goes down very easily. We're just going to be using his chest to hook shot over. There it is. Missed the first time. And we are on our way to everyone's favorite math teacher, Aghanim 2.
Assuming the pinballs are going to let us go through. Zelda's getting kind of bullied here in this room. Alright, first cycle of Aga 2. 2 hits, certainly really nice to see.
Nothing on cycle 2. That was a kind of a weird position, plus there was a blue ball in there.
Yes. We always thought Aghanim was a jerk. Now there are 3 of him. Do you think it's multiplicative? Do you think it's additive? Do you think it's exponential? Yeah, I'm not good with math.
So we'll just go with yes.
That sounds good. Zelda doesn't care, how much of a jerk these 3 guys are. He is just, taking them down very quickly. He is one bird flight away from taking on Ganon.
They are a friend, so we shall call them a friend. One friend flight away from dropping in to fight the final boss of the game.
Yeah, meanwhile, McMonkey here is tearing through his gauntlet. Alright, looks like Ganon has warped to a position where Zelga has kind of nestled himself into this nice little corner, getting in a lot of his necessary strikes here. Already looks like this is going to be phase 3 Ganon. You can see Zelga quick swapping over to the arrows already. Hoping, I think he's going to try... Yeah, he's going to try and get into a silver arrow hit before the torches go out.
A pretty nice teleportation pattern there.
Oh yeah, Ganon for once, out of all of the tricks that we've seen today, have been actually quite friendly. Yeah, and Ganon, of course, gives us a silver arrows hint if we hadn't already picked them up. But in this case, because our runners both found them, he just says, "Oh no, don't use silvers against me." Just like that, with the final arrow inside Ganon, Zelga just needs to go through this fanfare, cross this 1x3 bridge, and he will be the winner of our race here today between himself and McMonkey. Get your GGs out in chat for zelgadissan, who's finished in first place with an official racetime.gg of 1 hour, 27 minutes, and 19 seconds. So you think Zelga's happy? Based on his reaction? Relieved? Shaking his head means good things, right?
I mean, it was an interesting scene. There was that dry spell kind of in the middle where nothing was being found, and then just little bits and pockets of stuff before finally getting that Godmire very close to the end of clearing everything. So couldn't enjoy that go mode for as long as he probably wanted to, in terms of speedily clearing out dungeons versus digging through all the chests. But
Yeah, that's true. And especially for Zelga's side, he ended up doing quite actually a bit more, right? He finished clearing Tower of Hera. He beat Moldorm and got the green pendant that I don't actually think he turned in, now that I think about it. He full cleared Eastern Palace. He beat Armos. And he decided to not full clear Pod and beat Helmasaur. If he had done that, I would really hope that he would just blind pull the pedestal at that point. Meanwhile, we have McMonkey here taking on his Agatu fight. I unfortunately kind of missed the first cycle or two or something. And I probably shouldn't have looked at that cycle because I don't think he ended up getting his shots in either.
Now that second cycle there didn't see any shots go through, but still finishing pretty good there and slamming face into wall.
McMonkey is just increasing his mock count unnecessarily. So one of the nice things actually about the randomizer is that it gives you some really nice fun stats at the end, including the number of times you bonked. So those bonks are going to 100% count towards his counts.
Big numbers, we love them.
Okay, that trident was a little scary. I didn't expect that thing to move the way it did. But looks like McMonkey is still taming down Ganon, found his own little corner up in the upper left, taking out the cape here for good measure, because one of the worst things that can happen in a Ganon fight at this point is that you die. And if you die, all of the magic that you had is just going to be wasted. Alright, already phase 3.
Yeah, so he'll be having the same good teleport patterns, because the patterns are the same for the seed no matter what, first time through here. So final hit right at the top there. Doesn't get the torch glitch, unfortunately, has to shoot fire into both sides.
Yeah, I was really scared that he was actually going to get sniped by that fire bat. Because it was all dark and it just came out of nowhere, at least for me. But I'm glad that McMonkey has a cooler head than I do. He took down Ganon phase 4 just quickly. He is also just has to wait through this fanfare, cross this 1x3 bridge, and he will also finish this race here versus Zelga. Please get your GGs out in chat for McMonkey. Finishing with an official race time of 1 hour, 31 minutes, and 17 seconds. So really just 4 minutes difference. This was quite a phenomenal seed race to watch, actually. There was just so much content given to us by both these runners. And for so much of it, too, we basically got to see the dungeons being cleared, like, side by side.
Yeah, and we have both of our runners ready for a post-race interview here.
It looks like we are joined here right now by Zelga. GG's and McMonkey. GG's, guys. This was a really great race.
Oh, GG's. Thank you very much.
Any initial thoughts about the seed? How it went? How you felt? Getting all that progression out of the front of Skull Woods?
Oh, yeah. Every single map, compass, key, good stuff. I really felt like this started out where you could I made no right decisions whatsoever. It was basically turned into last location, followed by last location, followed by last location. Once we got to Swamp and like Flute and Mitts showed up, it kind of got a little bit more straightforward. And before that, just getting absolutely nothing through the entire Dark World loop until starting at Hype Cave and going clockwise all the way to Pod and getting absolutely nothing felt really bad.
Yeah, we chatted. It was rough early for sure, and had we made, I think we were saying in chat, we both thought about going to Pod first, entering the Dark World, since we got the bow and hammer and lamp, the Pod starting kit early on. But that loop has a lot of items, and so it drew us both that direction, which meant last locating that hook shot.
Yeah, nothing like a really great seed to tell you, hey, here's a bow. Do you want to go dip Pendant Eastern? Great. Hey, like, do you want to go dip Pendant Pod? Yeah. You want to go dip Pendant Harrow? Yeah, that sounds really great. And then, of course, you get to Crystal Skull Woods, and yeah, everything is locked behind the fire rock.
Yeah, this turns into like a real jet seed. If you can go make the move to go to Pod first, then there's a lot of things you don't have to check along the way. You can basically go, because the logical next step from there would be to go to Swamp, which then gets you your next piece of progression and so on. So I think this is probably a good 15 minutes faster with if you go to Pod first, at least 10.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. It definitely, like, obviously I'm still doing thieves when I get there, but I get there with Flute and Mitch, so I do some things a little faster and then hurry up the mountain at some point and get Bombos. Everything just falls into place so much nicer if you just go to Pod first. But we don't have the galaxy brains for it, I suppose.
You guys played, both of you played very well. Execution was just on point. So definitely kudos to that.
Psyched. I'm certainly the underdog in the group, and I'm happy to make it a competitive match, especially with a slightly bigger audience than I usually have. But yeah, this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's a lot of fun, and I really appreciate you guys having us on stream. I know it's a big deal to be on like the main page for SG Live. I really appreciate you giving us that opportunity.
Yeah, big thanks to the whole crew. Thanks to the casters and the tracker and the restreamer.
Oh yeah, no, it was really fun. I can't speak for Kari, but at least from my perspective, it was a really great race to commentate for and to watch you guys. We certainly did. The scene. Yeah. Well, I mean, the scene kind of was not that pleasant, but you guys did like the best way you could.
Yeah, the execution was great to watch. It was great to see you kind of think through, same but also differently between the routing that you all took, the decisions you made, and it was a great seed to commentate on for my first one in a long time. It's been
a lot of work to go. I'm looking forward to the other 3 matches in groups, and we'll see what happens. And good luck to Zelga the rest of the way.
Yeah, same to you. This is a really tight race. Kind of like I figured every race in this group is going to be really tight, so I'm not surprised whatsoever by this, and looking forward to seeing you pull it on some other races. Good luck.
And having lost to you, it is in my best interest for you to win all the rest of your group matches. So go out there and beat them all.
I will do my best.
Yeah, I think when I was looking at the groups for SGL, your group is one of the hardest groups in my opinion to make it out of. I mean, the talent pool in general is just high, and it happens to be that I would consider this group to be a little bit more talent stacked than the others.
Yeah, I would agree. There are probably 2 or 3 I would place higher, but not too many.
Yeah. So I think Zelga, you already ran one this morning. So your other ones, you have 2 more matches to go. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. Got 2 more left in group.
And McMonkey, was this your first one, or is this your second one?
First, yeah. I've got a match each day till Tuesday. So one today, tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday.
Okay. So you're taking the more like sane approach of doing just 1 match a day, versus Zelga. You are you have quite the endurance to be able to do 2 seas in a day. So close to each other too.
Yeah, basically I took some time to eat between races, and that was pretty much it.
very important.
Oh yeah. Speaking of which, we meant to ask you this because we observed that you were sitting in the basement of Hera, and on the coffee break room, and you took a drink of something in a blue bottle. And then when you were waiting for, I think, the flute or something, you took the drink from the safe. But you weren't on a coffee break anymore, so we want to know what you were drinking.
Oh, okay. It is Sprite
In a blue bottle? Really?
in a blue bottle. Yep.
Today I learned. Okay.
All right, and that's the potion for the day.
Well, maybe you should, keep drinking that Sprite in the blue bottle, whenever you need to have a break or something, because whatever you've been doing today, that you've done 2 races down your belt, and you won, right? Whatever that is, just keep going. McMonkey feels the exact same way.
Thanks. I will do my best. And like you said, this is a tough group, but I feel pretty okay about my chances, especially after today's results. So just looking forward to keep going.
Yeah, certainly best of luck to you, Monkey. This is only your first race. Zelga is, as you've seen, a very, very formidable opponent, but certainly you are not out of the running by a long shot.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and just and also, like, as I was kind of watching some of these races, I personally really appreciate the fact that I can actually see you guys like on camera, like with webcams. Like, it actually makes like a huge difference. Actually, I think like Hari and I were actually talking during the middle of the race where you guys had gone through so much of the race and you just had like game faces on. Like, we couldn't even tell like what you were reacting to, or if you weren't reacting, or you were just so focused on something. But it was just really cool to be able to see, like what, if things even like affect you or or don't.
Yeah, except in Meyer, where I got the fire rod for go mode, followed by the big key in the next chest, and laughed out loud.
Yeah, so I think any very final thoughts on this seed or where you're going with the tournament, or just anything SGL related?
Not much for me. Just like I said earlier, thank you guys so much for doing the commentary and the tracking, the restreaming. Wishing the best for SG Live going forward, and hopefully I can keep taking part in it and a few more races.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the rest of the tournament. There's a lot of good runners. Let's go search them out on their channels and watch their matches, get a multi-Twitch up. It's going to be a lot of good rando in the next couple days.
Yeah, and there's a lot going on overall in the SpeedGaming Live, tournament suite happening throughout this whole next week. In fact, up next on this channel, we got some Super Mario Bros. 3 crowd control.
Yeah, so if you want to be evil as chat or encouraging as chat, this is your opportunity.
And yeah, drop a follow to our 2 Link to the Past randomizer runners, McMonkey819 and zelgadissan. Links are in chat there. Want to give a shout out again to our tracker. Thank you for keeping us on track with all of the items and math. And to my crow commentary, Clearmouths, thank you for joining me today.
Oh yeah, Kari, it was great. It was definitely like the entire basically crew that's putting all this together. I think they've done a phenomenal job. Thanks to SpeedGaming and Diesel and SGL for letting us cast this. And yeah, again, please follow these runners because they're talented and they play rando. So if you like what you saw today, definitely check them out.
And if you're interested in any of the other games being played through this event, stay tuned on this channel and check out all the schedules on the main SpeedGaming website as well to see if what's coming up throughout the week. We got all kinds of tournaments, and then also later in the week there's even a speedrunning marathon on SpeedGaming 2 starting later. I guess it'll be next week because tomorrow's the start of the week. But yeah, lots of stuff going on this week, and hang out on Twitch. Have it in the background as you work or play other stuff or however you like to watch. So thank you all for turning out for this race, and I'll see you all in chat probably.
All right, yeah, have a good afternoon or evening wherever you are, and be sure and stay tuned for Super Mario Bros. 3 Crowd Control.